Okay, so I'm Daniel Buturoaga. I'm gonna be doing the context of the book 1984. So, during Orwell's time, Orwell, um, before he wrote his story, was married to his wife, and during those times he would be sent frequently to the hospital because he would be bleeding or coughing up blood or just it wasn't too good of health. Diagnosed with tuberculosis. Then afterwards, his wife died, leaving him very depressed. And because of this event, his health got worse. And he decided to write 1984. He experienced while he was writing, he experienced fever, weight loss, night sweats in the hospital, and he underwent collapse therapy. At one point after his wife died, he went and lived on, pretty sure an island to be isolated. He was a heavy smoker and yeah. But whatever he did, whatever happened in his life, he would write it through Winston. So he smoked, so he made Winston to smoke. Winston's like a representation of Orwell during his time. Now may have seemed like Orwell was kind of a bad guy, I guess, because he did all this bad stuff, but I don't know. But yeah, back to Winston. Orwell wrote Winston like himself. Like he would smoke, he would wake up every day lonely, cold in his bed. He wrote Winston wrote in a diary like how Orwell was writing in his book 1984. And it's just interesting how Orwell wrote Winston like himself during the totalitarian in a totalitarian government where everything's controlled by the government, where there's so many rules given by the government, and if you don't follow one, you're automatically punished and sent to the Ministry of Love, where they fix you and make you correspond to and obey the laws and love Big Brother. So, in 1984, the book, it's about a man, Winston, that represents Orwell, where he lives in a totalitarian government where he's in the writing department, and he has to obey all the laws, and he doesn't like Big Brother or the government, and wishes to abolish it or get rid of it, take down Big Brother. And he does this he writes about this in his journal, in his diary, where he expresses all of his ideas and thoughts about the government and life. and eventually he meets Julia, but then after a couple of affairs, the thought police finds him, takes both Julia and him away to the Ministry of Love, which fixed, I guess, Winston's mind and made him to believe whatever the government said and forced him to change his mind to love Big Brother. In the story, there's another person called O'Brien. O'Brien makes Winston believe that he's on his side to take over the government and demolish the totalitarianism, but ends up to be a trick and turns out to be O'Brien on the government side and on Winston's side too. And while in the Ministry of Love, where they're fixing his mind, O'Brien's the one who's actually fixing Winston and teaching Winston the right information, or is changing his mind to fit what the government wants. And just in that time, such a story was interesting because the audience that was planned for this story was mostly people who weren't in totalitarian government. So people who weren't part of Germany during the Nazi times or part of Soviet Union during Stalin's time. It was kind of designed for the Western part of the world, like America, that just never experienced such form of government. And Orwell wanted to warn them to never become like this, or else through the story you could see what would happen if a government became like that. And it was the story was very interesting because it expressed quite different views on how a government should function. And I mean, that's all I got for context. Just 1984 viewed a totalitarian government like if the Soviet Union took over, and how a simple civilian like Winston would be, how his point of view would be seen in such a government where he's viewed almost as nothing and he can't do anything to take over the government because he's weak, he's got no forces, and just the government has placed such great precautions so it doesn't get taken over. And this view was quite interesting. And yeah, that's it.